Afternoon, everybody. Bobby Cleveland here, Executive Director, Oklahoma Corrections Professionals. And today, again, we have Represent, Representative Humphrey. And Representative Humphrey, for far as I know, for the last 4 years, you have complained about the government being out of control. And we've complained about DOC mismanagement since Harper has been there. How he's mismanaged the money, how we don't have enough officers. And you have to have the officers. We wouldn't have all these killings of these inmates if we had enough officers. We wouldn't have the drugs in our prisons if we had enough officers. We wouldn't have these guys building their own knives if we had enough officers. We wouldn't have these guys getting beat up in their cell, getting the crap beat out of them, being raped in their cell if we had enough officers. None of this would happen.
Bob, it's all management. I mean, that's what it comes down to. It's management. We saw this week. We just saw recently, yesterday, Director Hart come out and announce that he was resigning. He's indicating like he's got a better job. Bob, where could there be a better job? How could you have a better job? That guy's got the best job. $275,000 to jump on a plane and fly all over the United States, paid for, and party. I mean, where do you get a job like that? Who couldn't love that job?
Well, why do most people who retire and leave the job give you a notice, substantial notice, not no 30-day notice? So there has to be more to his resigning. Personally, I don't think he resigned. I think he was forced out. That's just my opinion.
Well, Bob, it's no question that it's suspicious that you see a audit come out on monies when he was in OMES. That's what it appears. Now, I want to say, wow, he's been at DOC for 3 years. He was at OMES, 4 years ago? So it's taken a long time to get this report. But here's this report comes out. Money's missing. But Bob, how many times on this program have we said that they had to sneak? The old governor had, and we say it just like this, Bob. Old governor had to sneak old Harp out the back door because he had so much COVID money missing, ARPA money, and he had barbecue all over him. He had that barbecue all over him from Swadley's. Now, how many times have we said that exact thing right here in the last 3 to 4 years? And now, all of a sudden, well, wow, we got some money missing. Well, you think it's, it's hilarious. And yet, if you want to look at real money issues, come over here to DOC, come over here for the last 3 years and see what he's done and the disaster that he has created. And Bob,
what money they've got missing, apparently, if it's not there, it's not there. They don't know where to how to spend it. But all of this money went to the low income. How low can you be to steal from low income families?
Well, that's pretty low.
Pretty dead gum low.
But let me ask you something, Bob. How do you do an investigation audit and not know? How do you just say, well, 21 million or this amount of millions are missing? That's a pretty easy trail to follow. That should be a pretty easy trail. And that's why you never see anybody getting arrested. This is what ought to happen. They ought to do a real audit. They ought to do a real forensic audit, an actual audit, and then people would go to jail. But you got this little audit that they do and say, well, here's the money missing, and then we'll suggest that y'all go in and do a forensic audit and actually find out what's happening. This guy will not go to jail unless one of the agencies such as the AG or the OSBI come in and actually do a forensic audit. I will give you an example. You look at Swadley's Barbecue. They filed on the 3 guys that are on the private side. They didn't file on anybody on the other side. Now, let me tell you something. That was designed on the government side. The people who are crooks are on that side, including he was involved in that. If you want to look at Epic, 55 million, guess what? They've taken these guys to court multiple times. They ain't got anything yet. Why? There was an audit. She's claimed that's the best audit she's done. $55 million going. That's what I'm saying. We're not going to see any action until somebody actually comes in and does a proper investigation. He's getting enough heat, though. I believe, Bob. I believe that he is behind. And kudos to him. I'm fine. I'm glad they finally took 4 years to come out and actually say something's wrong and be close enough to make him feel some heat, just like Winchester felt the heat the minute they come out on Swally. Winchester's gone. That ought to be a clue. Scooby-Doo, we call it a clue. And right here, when Harp leaves right after he has this audit thing come out, Scooby-Doo would say that's a clue and it's time to look into. And again, if you have that, Bob, if you have that kind of, information come out, wouldn't that make you want to come over and look where he's been the director the last 3 years, where we know there's been massive problems, where they just purchased a $312 million prison, where he never entered it, never went in and looked at the prison, never stepped foot, called it the worst prison a year before, worst prison. Yet how did he not? He never went into the prison, to my knowledge. So, yeah, I mean, that's, Bob, it's time that somebody look into him. I mean, it is time somebody looks into this guy. Should not be allowed to walk off into the sunset and find some other, leech on to some other government job. He should go to, if he's done something criminal. Now, they need to investigate. But I can tell you it does look where I'm sitting that he is, guilty of missing monies and abusing money, Bob. How many times have we called him out in the last year on going all these trips, going and getting
abusing the money?
Well, you remember, Bob, we called him out right on here. We called him out about going on them trips. And I mean, hey, the minute we got off here, and Bob, I want to tell you something. I laugh all the time how me and you get on here and we call him out for, like up there at Eddie Warriors, that the gas line was broken. They weren't going to fix it. And 2 hours after we get off the air and call him out on it, they're out there videoing, oh, the Department of Corrections is fixing this line, making a big deal out of it. We called him out on his travel, and 2 hours later, he's like, I've only traveled $5,000 and we've only taken, and then the news media goes and finds out that's the biggest, fattest lie. He's had thousands and thousands, didn't even report his ACA trips. And Bobby's taken, my understanding, multiple ACA trips. He was recently on one.
Are we a member of ADA?
No, ACA, we're not even members. And Bob, to go to one of those, you've got to pay quite a bit of money. It's quite a big trip. You take several people, you're going to be paying money. He just recently went to one, my understanding, took several people. And guess what? Again, that's costing massive amounts of money. When we're broke, when you talk to our people ordering product, they can't even get a product. You talk to the people about the poor quality of food.
Well, I'm hearing our food that they pour out more food than they make. I mean, that's
because the way they order
a lot of food and poured it out in the trash every day. Substantial amount of food that's not normally done.
And again, that's the question. Why would anybody in management not keep track of anybody in management? Your food's going to be one of your big expenses. You're going to set up a system that's going to tell you you're not using this. This is being wasted. You're throwing out. Stop doing that. Put something that is going to be used and get your money, big bang for your money. Now, that's anybody. Now, and Bob, remember this. Harp was going to be, he didn't know anything about corrections. Everybody knew that. He knew that. The thing that he claimed, the claim that all of them made, the government, everybody, Harp's going to come in and put business, real accounting business, onto the Department of Corrections. That has been the biggest, baddest lie. The guy doesn't know what to do. And I used to think, well, he's a good money man. He does. I will tell you this. He can't keep up with numbers. I presented something one time that very few people clicked to. He clicked to it really quick. He got the numbers. He got the. So I was in hopes maybe he don't know about corrections, but he does get numbers. Maybe he'll clean this up, do this. Do
well,
that.
He bragged about hiring people that weren't qualified, weren't qualified, had no experience.
Yeah, well, that's
What you
stupid.
do
Going to
to make a
see.
difference. See, yeah, that's what you can do if you have a real business. But the Department of Corrections is not that way.
Well, Bob, even if you have a real business, I mean, do you want a brain surgeon that's never studied surgery or never done a surgery or never been to medical school? I personally don't. Do I want a business person who doesn't know anything about business? I will tell you this, Bob. I'm all for education. I have a college degree. I have a lot of postgraduate stuff. I think that I'm fairly educated. But you want me to tell you the best education you can get is doing the job. They don't teach stuff. They don't teach stuff right there in college that you get right there on the job. And again, he's run off. He has fired everybody, and you know it, Bob, because you
Well,
defended
you were
that.
going to find out if they're going to really change the attitude, change the way that things work, and hire these guys back. They fired that should never been fired. That every judge we've been for, some judges 2, 3, 4 times, maybe 5, that have said this is wrong.
Well, Bob, the first thing, and again, I know that Justin's acting. I will tell you, in the past, we've worked with Justin. We got along with Justin. We had our differences. I mean, we had differences. But before Hart came, Justin was kind of the go-between for us to talk, and he didn't do all that we asked him to. There's a lot of times he'd balk on it. I remember one time I had to tell him, well, if you make me do this, I'm going to go down and prove you're going to regret, and just go on and do it, And I went down there and told girls, said, hey, just go down to the police department and file charges on this. And they backed water on that pretty quickly. It was quite funny. But I will tell you, he was great to work with before. Now he won't even look my way. If I wave at him, he'd turn his head, I hope he comes out of that. And
well, I think that was again with Hart.
I think so.
But
I think he had to get along with Harp. I don't hold that against him where he was at. I get that. But the question is, what is he going to do today? And here's what I'm going to say. One, go back and look at who was fired. Go through that. The people who have experience, call them back in, see if they'll come back to work. Get your experienced people back. I'm going to give you a name, Luke Pettigrew. I can name you several other names just like that y'all have fired and that you've let go. The doctor, your doctor, call him back. Your person that's over communication, call him back and see
stop firing the whistleblower.
Well, stop firing people. Bring people back. The people that you got on court right now that you have lost, quit spending millions in our state tax dollar. Drop all those. Pay them back pay, get them back to work, bring those people back to work. They were wrongfully fired. The court said so. Do that. Build your, Bob, here's the deal. They personally attacked you, me, OCP. Now,
well, they should definitely, because it's going to happen eventually, stop using outside attorneys. They've got attorneys on staff that they can do this. And they pay some of these people off. Just get rid of them. Let's get this over with. That'd be cheaper for them to do that than to keep going to court. But it's not your money. It's the state's money.
Well, Bob,
but you're responsible for that money. That money is your money from the standpoint you're responsible for it. But yet they blow it. They're blowing it on these guys who are not have anything to do with the persons. Nothing.
Well, Bob,
get outside people.
The other thing, yes, absolutely. You've got to quit paying $500 an hour, lawyers to lose cases. They're going to lose because they don't have a case. They're on appeal. The appeal is, did the lower court do right? Was there something wrong? It's not to retry the case. It's everything been right? And guess what? They lose. They ought to have to put up a bond. We've talked about that. We're working on OCP, working on forcing them to put up a bond so that they can't just willy-nilly do this without being out some money. And again, that needs to stop, Bob. They have attacked. Harp went after the employee association. And any place that wants to remain strong ought to work with the employee administration. They ought to encourage a strong administration so that they can go to the Capitol and lobby for them and get the thing and work with that association. You shouldn't threaten your employees, and we know that they've been threatened. We know they haven't been allowed to join OCP. And again, if they work like they did before, guess what? We didn't have a lot of lawsuits going on when Crow was there because we were working with Justin to make sure, and they didn't do everything. They didn't do all the ones we wanted. But, Bob, I would say probably 90% of the cases that we had, we were able to informally work that out. And again, that was good for them.
At least we had a voice. At least we could go in and talk about it. Can't even do that now. Now when they bring a guy in to terminate him, he doesn't get a chance to sit there and say, well, that's not true what you're saying. It didn't happen this way, it happened this way. They don't get a chance to say their side. It's one-sided. You're out, you're fired, you don't get to talk.
Well, Bob, you know, I've been in the corrections business a long time, and I worked with a lot of drug offenders, and I mean a long time, Bob. I've dealt with people about changing behavior, and what we're talking about right here is changing behavior. Now, it's a different skill set and all that, but what we're talking about, changing behavior. Old saying, and everybody knows it, keep doing the same thing, you get the same result. They say it's insanity to keep doing the same thing and expect a different result, okay? Now, the question is, do we have a problem? And hell yes, we have a problem, and anybody that would deny that, for Harp to sit around, and Bob, you know, I was told the other day, you know, it's koozie, whatever they call it, that I love to show all the time. He did away with his they had a great mission statement. Lord, I love our mission statement, you know, protect the public, protect the employee, and protect the inmate. But he came out with to build a stronger Oklahoma by transforming lives in a safe, rehabilitative, and compassionate environment. You know what? I think if you go back and look at Gio's statement, I believe he robbed that. That's not even an original statement. I think he robbed that from somebody else. Wow. But here's the deal. Bob, go back to your mission statement. That was a part of, that'll be your first deal. Put your mission statement back, and guess what? That's going to make the employees.
You're saying, JJ, that ADA had that mission statement and he did it?
I think that's Gio possibly had that. I think
Gio did.
I think now, Bob, I'm not going to swear, but I think that somewhere I was digging around, heard that, seen that. I was going to mention that he can't even come up with an original statement. And go back to your mission statement. But here's what you got to do, Bob. If you're going to fix a problem, what's the first thing in fixing a problem? What do you think the first?
Acknowledge there is a problem.
Bob, that's it. You got to identify and acknowledge. And hey, let me tell y'all, and I hope, Justin, you're listening, because y'all invested a lot in 7 stages of change. 7 stages of change, how you get people to change their behavior. If you go back and look at that first stage, it's where that they don't even know that they are even unaware that they have a problem. So people who have drug problems and this kind of thing, doesn't matter what the problem is, they're walking around, everything's cool, they're in denial, they don't admit a problem. Their second stage is beginning to kind of acknowledge, okay, I got a problem. Okay, there is a problem. And then we go to work on the problem. So, Bob, first of all, if you think there's no problem in DOC, I have never seen such a disaster in all of my life. It is the worst, disaster I've ever seen. And again, there are so many problems that have to have immediate. But the number one thing, Bob, what would you say the number one thing is?
Shortage of officers.
Shortage of officers, absolutely, because that's central to every other problem that they have. When you have a shortage of officers, I will also add you have a shortage of nurses, you have a shortage of
everything.
Case manager. And again, there, you know, we talk about officers all the time, and we leave out some of these supporting staff as case managers and nurses and all of those supporting staff. Hey, it's all a team. Bob, if I was going to be in there, I would be looking at ways to make that cohesive, that nobody's more, there's not officer and nurse. You're all correctional employees. We all have a function. We all work together. If I need you over here today, you're over here. If I need you over here. Now, I'm not going to force them to do what they're doing. Let me say this, Bob. One of my immediate goals would be to make sure that we have enough employees that I'm not trying to rob Peter to pay Paul and move. You know, they're already shorthanded everywhere, and now we're going to take from there and move over to Lawton or move over to Holdenville. I would also acknowledge the murders and all of the carnage that's going on. And there's ways you can stop that. There's ways that you can do that. I'm not going to sit here and give out. Here's the deal, Bob. Every time that I give a plan, they take my plan and they bastardize it. They just, you know, kind of just do halfway on it. A great example is the computer system that I met with them on and talked about. And then they put, remember old Carpenter? I mean, golly, I don't know that he could have poured pee out of a boot with instructions written on him. The guy was okay. I don't dislike the guy, but my gosh, he wasn't no computer guy. I listened to him talk. I said, hell, I know more than he does. But
we got people dying in prison at a high rate. I mean, look at what's the name? What prison is where they've been getting where all the deaths have been happening. We've had
DC,
Allen Gamble.
We got a little Chicago going on in the Oklahoma prisons.
We do. And we've got guys being killed. But just like these people, that young kid, 21-year-old, 150-pound kid who was murdered. No, just right after he got into the OSP, and his crime was a nonviolent crime.
Yeah, he weighed 134 pounds. He's 5'4" and nonviolent. Should have already been discharged. They can say all they want. Just acknowledge it. Go and pay the money and acknowledge it. You've done wrong. That's what I'm saying. Come forward, get the plate clean. Start calling these people who have great experience. Call them back. We mistreated you. Be humble. We mistreated you. We know you love the prisons. You know you love Oklahoma Corrections. We want you back. We want to sit at the round table. Get these people who know prisons, who know how to fix this problem, come in, make a plan. It's not that difficult. It's not that hard.
There's no doubt in my mind Justin knows how to do that. He's been around long enough that he knows you don't turn the prison over to the inmates. He knows that's not the way it works.
Well, I have no doubt that Justin knows that things are grotesquely wrong. The question is, and I love Justin, I really do, and he's been great to work with in the past. And I hope, and you know, I know they may be considering him, and I'm fine with that. I think that he has experience in the administration of prisons under multiple people. The question is, will he stop politicking? And he's going to have to run a prison. And again, that means you're going to have to make people bad. That means you're going to have to fire people. That means you're going to have to humble yourself and bring people back. And again, the question is he going? I have no doubt that Justin can. I have no doubt that Justin has the ability. I have no doubt that Justin has the knowledge. My question is, will he do what you have to do to do this? Because it's going to take somebody. And again, now you get mad. I know there's people who don't like Jim some because he's pretty straightforward, but there's a lot of people who do like him, and a lot of people. But Jim's kind of cut like me. Jim's cut like, you know what I'm saying? He's going to go in and get the job done, and it don't matter who it makes mad. It doesn't matter. Jim's going to fix the problem, and he's going to make it work. Now, Justin is more the political type guy who's just going to get along with everybody, and he's going to manage to stay, you know what I'm saying, right there. He's very political, and that's a skill, and that's a good skill. I'm not down in, that's not a bad thing, and I will tell you, me and Jim get in a lot of trouble being the way we are. But at the same time, that when you have such a mess, you're going to have somebody that will come in and take care of the problem. And right now, they got people that don't know how to take care of the problem. And you said it a while ago, Hart come in and said, I'm going to bring in, that's stupid going to see. We're going to bring in a bunch of people who don't know what they're doing, and we're going to run this show. How stupid can you get? That's stupid. So it's time to get those people out. It's time to get people who know corrections back in, set down a plan, and go after fixing this. But again, first of all, coming out and acknowledging the gross problems that you have, because until you do that, you're not going to fix the problem.
Well, they just look at all the deaths they have in the prison system, and there's no question a lot of guys deserve to be in prison. That's the place they have to be. They just can't live in society. But there's a lot of guys that go into prison. They could be rehabilitated, get jobs. We don't have much that goes in rehabilitation there anymore.
Well, Bob, they've done away with all the stuff. You know, back when we were under budget, we was $1 billion behind. We cut all kinds of programs, and again, we misused money. We've mismanaged. Corrections has been mismanaged. And again, Bob, technology, if we would push technology centers and training on job, if we give a person a living wage job, they're 66% less likely to come back to penitentiary. Those are great numbers. What we're doing on Probation Pro, you've never had anybody in DOC for the last probably 15, 20 years that really understood Probation Pro. Probably Justin Jones was the last one that knew what he had in Probation Pro. And we have seen Probation Pro. We've seen the DAs hijack community supervision. If you got a good director in there that understood that and would put somebody under him with Probation Pro, they could do astronomical in stopping the people coming to the penitentiary, keeping them in the community. But again, you got people who don't even have a clue of what that whole covers, and they could stop the DA. If you put a person who's a strong person in there, they could call out the fraud that the DA is doing. They could return all the supervision back under, and they could coordinate across the state, which would be awesome, which is what Oklahoma needs. But nobody has the backbone. Nobody has the will to do that. And again, I love Justin. I mean, I really do. I love Justin's family. You hear me talk about Justin and Jim. I love their family. I don't mind saying that. I know me and their uncle, I spoke at their uncle's funeral. Their uncle was one of my best friends, So again, I love Justin. If they make him director, I have nothing but the best wishes for him. I think that he does care about people. I think that he's been in a place. I personally couldn't have stayed in that place. I couldn't have worked for Harp. I'd have personally quit. That's like when the governor asked me when his crew asked me to submit a resume to be director. I told him I would not submit a resume until I talked to him, because there's no use in me going to work for him if we're not on the same page. And he called and he broke appointment. And I finally told old Beeman, you remember old Secretary of State Beeman? He's Corporation Commission now. He called me up, JJ, he's going to break another. I said, Beeman, tell that sorry son buck that I ain't got no use for him, and I'm not even putting in for it. He goes, you really want me to tell him that? And I said, tell him, because Bob, I couldn't do that. I couldn't have worked for Hart. Because
JJ, have you heard this statement? Everyone can agree that fraud, waste, and abuse is unacceptable. It is past time for Oklahoma to get its financial house in order. Now, who have you heard say that?
That's the current state auditor, but when she said it, and hey, I just for open, just to be transparent, I'm a transparent person. She's running against me for lieutenant governor. Now we get all these audits. Oh, it's quite coincidental we have all these audits when we're running for lieutenant governor. That ain't that special. And she's coming out saying, "Oh, I've been beating the drum. I've been calling this out on every street corner." Been funny. I've been on every street corner calling it out, and I ain't seen her. She ain't been on any street corners I've been on calling that out. But Bob, give credit where credit's due. She is right on that. And she is right on what she's shown, but she, I mean, like I say, we got to give you a good example, Bob. In November, I come out and said that mental health ought to be abolished. And I said, put them under Department of Corruption. And so everybody lost their mind. They got mad at me saying that. And then I come back a few weeks later and said, okay, while y'all are mad, I want you to stay mad. And I want you to listen, because you're mad at me. You're mad at the wrong person. What you ought to be mad at is mental health, because where is their money? And Bob, it wasn't hard to see that money was missing because they didn't have any beds. They weren't spending it on their employees. Just like, Bob, we got a $43 million raise for the Department of Corrections. For you guys out there, we got a $40 million raise. Simple as this. Where's the money being spent on? Because the correctional officers you're claiming aren't there. You're getting the money for it, but they're not there. Where is the money? Bob, if you went back 3 years, they were doing that for 3 years. Roughly, I figured $240 million. Where's that $240 million? I go over and turn it in. They created, they created that group Loft. You remember when they created the group Loft? In fact, they got mad at me because I wouldn't vote for it. But turned it in to Loft. You were with me, I think, when we went and turned all that stuff in. And guess what? They did absolutely nothing. So,
JJ, when a person at DOC gets demoted, they say they on the release they put out that person has 10 days to comply if he's going to basically fight the issue. But he has 10 days to do it, which he has the right. It says in there he has the right to do this. But when he does do that, what do? They fire him. Because he did what he's supposed to do, what he should do, and what the legal right is. They fire him. Insubordination.
I've got two right now. I know two people that have long term have given a big part of their life to the Department of Corrections, who at one time in their life loved the Department of Corrections. I mean, they loved it. They're steeped in it. Their family's steeped in it. And now are telling their kids, don't go down there. Don't be a part of this. Go find something else. And again, been fired, like you said, for absolutely nothing. One of them I don't even think was at the prison on the day of what they're accusing him of. Wasn't even at the prison, and they won't let him use video. So this video they got, they won't even let him use the video to verify what they're saying is a square up lie. Now that's the kind of stuff that it's time to come out, say enough is enough, tell the truth, call those people back, create an environment where those people love to come to work again, appreciate their job again. And that's how you recruit people, is when you do that. And if you do that in a way that everybody knows you're going to do that, guess what? Volumes go out. There's already a relief. The staff, I'm already hearing it, Bob. It's like a sigh of relief knowing that Harp is gone. They're dancing in the streets. But the question is, what's going to replace him? Who's going to replace him?
Well, they got to get officers. That's to start with. They got to have more help.
Absolutely. And what plan?
They're so far down to stop the inmates from killing each other.
Well, Bob,
how many deaths have we had at Allen Gamble, say in 18 months?
Bob, I had a person report 29 deaths to me, and I know we've had probably 10, 12. I would say upwards, 35, 40 deaths in that one prison in a 2-year period of time, probably.
But I'm going to tell you something else they need to do. They need to be transparent. They need to quit hiding stuff, quit lying, and just be transparent.
Oh, absolutely.
Like they have been for the last 100 years.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You got to come out and admit the problem. You got to address the problem. But Bob, let me ask you a question. You remember when we got that money, the $43 million, and we did it by finding out that they were 940 officers short. They were probation officers short, nursing short, $80 million a year. That's quite a bit of money, $80 million a year. Where is that money, and what could we do with that money? That's a great question. Why is anybody looking into that? But at the end of the day, we worked with Crow and we worked with Justin, to get that money to those officers. That was a big, big deal. However, Crow left shortly after that. Hart steps into the picture right there. Now, can I get a witness that me and you were banging on the biggest problem he had was a shortage of officers and a gross bloated administration. Now, did we not meet with him? Did he not come to you and did he not come to me and say, y'all have done great work and I know what you're saying is true and we're going to go in and we're going to work on that? Did he not come to you and say that?
Something like that.
He told me that. You know what? And then guess what? Right after that, what did he tell you? Did he tell you, Bob, I really appreciate you and I'm going to work with you? And no, he didn't say that. He came to me and said, kick Bob to the curb and I'll work with you. And if you won't kick Bob to the curb, you're out too. You know? And I did the backdraft. I did the backdraft move, Bob. I said, Bob goes, I go. You go, I go.
Well, thank you.
And so, but here's the thing, Bob. He comes to you and says, we got no use for OCP. Well, guess what? OCP is not Bobby Cleveland. You've done a lot of stuff great, and I'll praise you. And you, man, people, guys, y'all don't know how much this guy has done and give his life to help y'all. But at the end of the day, guess what? OCP is not Bobby Cleveland. And when Bobby Cleveland quits, somebody else come in. We're going to continue right down the road. But here's the deal. OCP is the employees. And Hart has attacked the employees. Harp has attacked the association. And Harp has said, if you're involved in this, I'm going to get rid of you. I catch you talking to Humphrey, I'm getting rid of you. Bobby Cleveland, I'm getting rid of you. Now, he's threatening it's illegal what he did, Bob. I'd really like to sue him on that for several issues. But anyways, and I do have a lawsuit filed on him. But Bob, the deal is that's what they've got to do. They've got to go back in and build a strong association. And that's how you build your that's what makes people want to come to work. When you have an association that has some power and speaks to the problems and can work problems out and make that an environment and actually do what they claim on their little what do you call these coolers, koojies? Is that what they're called, Bob?
I don't know.
I have no idea. But Bob, it's not about a bunch of. This is words. What we're talking about is actions. We're talking about actions. Your actions have to match your words, and when they don't, the words mean nothing. So I hope, and like I say, I'm going to sit back. I'm not going to bash Justin at all. I'm going to sit back and see what he does. I wish him nothing but the best. Bob, if you remember, that's what we did with Harp. I come in and again, I disagreed. I think we come out and said, I just don't understand this appointment, but we're going to sit back and hope that his financial abilities, business mind, maybe he can bring this.
He's been nothing but a disaster for the Department of Corrections.
But Bob, we didn't get on it.
When I see these things he put out, that how good of a job he did and how he's changed things. He's changed things, yeah. He's gotten hundreds of inmates either killed or injured. He's the one that's done it. He's the one that set the rules. He's the one that set the policies. Let the inmates run the show. He sends one of his guys around. Let the inmates run. Don't do anything. Let them do what they want to do.
Well, Bob, from where I was sitting at, you had a doctor in there, Dr. Fisher, and it looked like that you had somebody who was finally turning their medical department around for the better. I think the guy was pretty smart. I think the guy had great intentions. He was qualified. I think he was doing a good job. Harp comes in and fires him for nothing, brings in a person who knows absolutely nothing. I mean, don't know diddly on that, not qualified. I don't have a problem with that person. I'm not hating on that person. I'm just telling the truth. And the truth was that Dr. Fisher was doing a hell of a great job, and this other person didn't know Sickle from come here, and that's who Hart put in. You had a person with communications that everybody liked, the media liked, everybody spoke highly of, walks in without any kind of reason, any kind of, purpose, and fires the guy, unbeknownst, just walks in and fires him. The person under them that was working at the Capitol, who I really like that person. Guess what?
JJ, we got to stop. They have to stop this taking away the civil rights of an inmate. Now, guy is in there, no question about it. He's in there. Some of them deserve to be there. Some of them don't. Some of them are not. They're not rapists. They're not child molesters. They're not a robber. They're not a car thief. They did something else. It was a nonviolent crime. But people, they still have rights. When you go to prison, that doesn't mean that you take away your rights as a citizen of Oklahoma or citizens of the United States. But when you go locking people in a shower stall for days for punishment, that's wrong. That's as wrong can ever be.
Absolutely. And Bob, I put more people in jail and in prison than probably anybody you know. I mean, I really have. And guess what? There's a professionalism with it. You're a professional. That's what they got to train. And Bob, I really push training, and I really push mentoring people who have experience, who are doing it right, training that people get to see. You are polite. I don't care if you're an inmate. I walk up there, hey, Mr. So-and-so, hey, inmate so-and-so, we're going to have to shake your bed down, step out here. Now, if they won't step out and they won't mouth and they won't fight, I'm going to be polite to the point they lay a hand on me, and then we're going to take care of business, But we're going to do our job. We're going to go down there. There's nothing personal on it. We're going to get dope off of the units. We're going to get phones off of the units. We're going to be professional. And again, you can do your job, and you can take pride in that job, take pride in making sure that those inmates stay safe. Guess what? Most of them inmates there, Bob, if you were on the unit, would you not want all those knives off that unit? I would.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Would you not want all that dope off that unit? Would you not want to have to walk around and wonder if you're going to get raped, killed, stabbed, extorted, somebody slipped some.
Now, I've heard this, JJ, that at one of the prisons, one of the inmates told a correctional officer, a female correctional officer, that they are being raped by officers, and they're telling them they have to service them while they're here. And she went and told this, and guess what? They fired her.
Fired her. Yep. And I received that same report. Bob, I received, and that's sad. You know what I'm saying? It's sad that you get pictures of people who had broken jaws that can't get medical, that we're not treating. I mean, these are not maybe happening. These are happening all the time. And again, we're third world prison right now. And anybody that says that we're not, and that's what I would just hope, is that Justin would come out and really, hey, I really want to encourage you, Justin, if you're listening, there's a company out of Texas. If you want to reach out to me, I'd be happy to connect you with this company out of Texas. They're known nationally. I talk to the person that's over it quite often. They come in, they analyze prisons, top down, your staffing levels, the quality of food, the prison facilities, the condition of the facilities, all the things. I mean, top down, everything. Get a whole analysis of your correctional system. And that would be where I would start, is having an independent, assessment of where you need to work on and getting that independent assessment.
Well, we definitely need nurses. We need correctional officers in a bad way. I don't think we have enough caseworkers. We're all out of caseworkers.
Well, Bob, and what people need to understand, when you don't have caseworkers, and when caseworkers are having to go in and fill in for correctional officers and do those duties and can't do their own, you're supposed to be like 30 days before a guy discharges, before a person discharges, you're supposed to audit that file to make sure everything is cool and make sure that discharge date is correct. So if it's not correct, you correct it, give it the right discharge date. That means that you're making sure nobody stays past their discharge date. which is a massive civil rights violation to hold them past their discharge date. Bob, this guy that got killed at McAllister, I will guarantee you they helped him pass his discharge date. And the just the mere fact of the way that they changed it again just shows that you can't have any confidence in what they were doing.
And has McAllister gotten any better since we've taken it over? Well, how long have we taken over? A month now?
What's that? And Lawton? No,
has it got any better?
Lawton is going to be the biggest nightmare. And I said this before they got wet. I put on my prophecy hat. I called it. And Bob, you hide and watch. What I'm saying is going to be true. If Jim Ferris would have stayed, and again, it's not just Jim Ferris. Here's why, Jim. One, Jim would handle the problem, but two, Jim had been there long enough to know the people. That he knows the prison. So when you bring somebody in, they have to learn the whole staff, learn who they trust, who they can't, who's actually good, who's bringing dope in. You got to learn all that. That takes a while. So they're going to bring a guy in. Now let's look at the person they bring in. I think his name's Rogers. I won't swear. Harp used to be, when Pettigrew was at Harp, man, there was no problems. For the entire time that I worked in corrections, Harp was known kind of as a retirement home for inmates. You know what I'm saying? It was the least.
Everybody wanted to get transferred to Harp.
Everybody wanted to go to Harp. Yes. Here's the deal. Now Harp's a nightmare. This guy comes in. You never heard of deaths at Harp. Guess what? Now you're hearing of death all the time, almost weekly. Now I hadn't heard the last 2 weeks, I think. But man, there for a while, it was just every time you turned around. So here's a guy that took a prison where there was absolutely no problems and now have massive problems. And then they're going to move him out to one of the biggest prisons, if not the biggest prison in the state of Oklahoma, where they have 1,800 mental health inmates that are not a mental health facility. And they're going to dump him in that brand new. And hey, the second day, guess what? They were doing hospital runs for 2 days. I think 5 to 8 hospital runs a day. When the second day he's there, they were out of toilet paper. Bob, I'm hearing that it's chaos. It's crazy. The other part is how many of the staff have left? Are they shorthanded? I'm going to say this has potential to be the biggest nightmare if they don't get on top of it. And again, I want to say whoever the Department of Corrections director is, they have a nightmare. And again, I want to encourage Justin, come out, tell it like it is, assess it, tell it like it is, and tell the governor, here's your problem. Here's what I was dumped with, and have a solution, a plan to say, this is how we fix it. And again, without that, all you're doing is buying time, because if you just keep trying to cover up and do the old Harp cover up trick, Harp's already unwinding, and you won't last long on that. Best thing to do is call it out and get a plan to fix it. And that's what needs to be done. And I hope he'll do it. And again, I wish him all the best. I'm not opposed to him. But Bob, I mean, just like what I said earlier, Harp has used the Department of Corrections to get all his buddies big jobs. We know that he fired people right and left that had great experience, and he brought people in that absolutely knew nothing what they did, gave them big money. It was like I say, he did away, Bob, if you remember, he did away with merit protection. And again, that was so that he could fire people, cronyism, favoritism, all the isms, he's doing them. And again, he's flying around. Bob, just imagine, I mean, how many places does the guy go? He's over here at this conference talking about AI. He's over here at ACA. He's over here at the National Washington, and he's acting like they're inviting him. Bob, I don't think they're inviting him. I think he's just crashing every party and then claiming, look where I'm at. Look where I'm at. Go over here. Look where I'm at. I'm a really important person.
Well, he's got this to galore that's been happening in the prisons. It's more than I've ever heard of. And we're not looking at the death. We're not looking trying to solve that. We're not trying to help what's happening in the prison to help the prisoners out before they can get rehabilitated, because they're going to get out eventually. Most of the probably, what is it, 95% of the people that's in prisons right now will get out eventually. But we're not doing anything to help them. We're killing these people. These inmates are inmate on inmate, and we're worried about getting another something else. We need to get this cleared up. We need to stop these guys with all the tanks in they have in their cells and all the carry around with them, and put it back as a prison instead of making it look like it's a military camp.
Well, Bob, any plan that they got, it needs to start with returning. You got to have a plan how to get people back. Bob, I've been watching them 6 years. They have no plan. They don't have a plan how to get people back. I have a plan. I'm not going to share it today. They won't sit down with me. I might. I don't know. But I have an issue how they take my plans. They screw them all up, and they won't even let me be a part of it. So, again, there is a way to bring people back to get great experience, to bring people back. I think the number one thing that people have to have confidence in who's there to know that you'll keep your word and you'll do what you say.
Second, they could tell one of them right now, real easy, and that's the food. The food is awful based on what I've been told by a number of inmates from all over across the state, and as well as people who work in their kitchen to see all the stuff that's been wasted. They got to get a hold of this thing right away. This thing they could do tomorrow.
Well, Bob, how would you do that? Let me just ask you, what would be the first thing if we made you director? What would be the first thing you'd do to fix the food? Let's just talk food.
Well, I'd find somebody that's got experience in there first of all.
Okay, who would that be?
Me, I have no idea.
I'll tell you who I'd call. Julie, that used to work for them. I'd be calling her and getting her on the phone.
Well, yeah, that's a good one. She had a good heart for DLC.
Absolutely, she wants to do it right. She's got the knowledge. She's got the training. She did it. You know, she was great. They praised her until she stood up to them and said, "What you're doing is wrong." And then they ran her off. She didn't get fired. She quit because she couldn't work for them because they were asking impossible and they weren't doing right. That's a person with integrity. That's the person you ought to look at. Experience, integrity, knows how to do the job. Bring her back, sit down and say, "Look, we want to hire you. What's it going to take? We're sorry. We apologize for the way you're treated. Let's put that past us. Let's sit down. Let's make a plan. You start a plan. I'll come back and visit you." Boom, right there. That's so simple. That's simple. Sounds simple. But again, the other thing is, he's trying to privatize. He's screwed up all the contracts.
Let's look at the privatize. When you try to privatize, that company that's getting in there, they got to make a profit. They got to make a profit. They're just after profits. We shouldn't be. We should not be after profits. We're in there to do what needs to be done and not making a profit. But we don't want to lose money. But we want to make sure that we're feeding them the right what they'll eat. But when you go and you start getting privatize this and privatize that, that company that did this has to make money. It's very simple. The privatization does not work for any Department of Corrections. None.
Here's something. It's so simple. So simple. All right. So if I'm going to rent you a house, I want to check you out. I want to find out what's Bob like. I called the last place Bob rented. I called another place Bob rented. I go down to a company that does that checks on you and sees what's your credit report and what's all. Who is Bob Cleveland and do I want to rent this? Okay, now that's on renting a house. Now, if I'm going to get into a $70 million, I think is what it was, contract with you on food, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to check you out. Bob, all you got to do is Google that company. All you got to do is pull it up. And you know what? If you Google that company, you know what you're going to see? You know what comes up?
What?
Food problems at Florida, food problems at Minnesota. And I'm giving these states, I don't know where it was. But you Google that up and you're going to see maggots in food, big issues in food, but all kinds of problems, you know. Hey, that ought to be your first clue. Maybe we ought not to.
But as a state agency, anything in the state, we're not there to make a profit. That's the outside business, the corporate world. That's what they're there for.
Right.
They're there to make a profit, to show that profit to their company. We're there to try to change people's lives and put the money in that and not worry about a profit.
Well, Bob, and the fact that we're not making a profit means we ought to be able to do it cheaper. That's the whole deal. We're not making a profit. Now, that doesn't mean we're not using good sense and good business sense, but we have a different, we're there to feed people. We're not there to try to make a corporate profit. But in doing that, now, Bob, here's the deal also, you need to take the politics out of it. Nobody has the will to do this, to stand up against the lobbyists, stand up against the government. But here's the thing. We used to grow our own food. We used to grow our own beef. We used to grow our own pork. We used to grow our own vegetables, all that. That gave these inmates all kinds of things to do. Okay, you had a great job. You had great training. We had maintenance crews. We built our own kitchens.
It costs money. It costs money to do that too.
It costs money, but Bob, you save money.
We're doing something for helping everybody out.
But you save money on what you're growing. You save money by not having any food expense because we can do our own bill. We can do all of this stuff. And again, what happens, lobbyists come in and go, well, we want to contract on beef, so we don't want them growing beef. They can sell beef. We want to have a contract. We want to contract on rice and beans. And you go down there and look, you go down there to the store and buy them cheaper than what we're buying them for at the prison. Well, that's because it goes to this, it goes to that, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it goes to a lobbyist in their pocket, and it goes to a bunch of people getting wealthy off construction, off of food, off of maintenance, off of all these. Now, they want to do an audit, get your butt out there. If you want to do an audit, I can show you how to find waste, abuse, fraud, everything. And Bob, I've called out fraud in their maintenance for how long? They're falsifying records. It's illegal. It's felony. We've called that out how many times?
Well, they should call for an audit immediately after Harp's gone, which he is gone. But they need to have an audit there to what's been going on, where's the money at. But when you start taking and terminating people who work in maintenance, who work in the food service, because you want to go out and get somebody else that'll do it and get you out of it, and even though it's going to cost you more money, it's not less of a headache. Well, that's not what it's all about.
Well, Bob, they fire people who have the audacity to call them out on their criminal behavior. We just had a guy fired because he said, I will not sign something illegal. I just called over here and they said what you're doing and what you're asking me to do is illegal. Well, guess what? They fired that guy, and then they just go find somebody who will blindly think, well, they wouldn't ask me to do something illegal. In fact, that guy, the way he found out it's illegal, he called me and he said, hey, I don't feel right about doing this. They're asking me to sign all of these work orders that I wasn't at, and that's a lie. And I said, yeah, it's fraud. It's illegal. He calls and finds out, he calls the union and finds out I'm telling the truth. He's like, yeah, we just filed on 3 people for that. He goes back down there, does all this in writing, I'm pretty certain, and says, hey, I know y'all wouldn't ask me to break the law, but what you're doing here is, and guess what? He refused to sign it, and they fired him. And you look at Julie, what happened to Julie? Harp goes down there. He's like, hey, how's it all going? She goes, you don't want me to tell you. And he said, well, ma'am, I'd like to have you at my office. And she tries to get a meeting with him how many times, and finally quits because of the conditions of what they were asking her to do. They didn't care. Yeah. And I mean, so I just give you 2 people are the type of people that you want. Those are people with integrity. Those are people who are going to make sure the job gets done right. That's the people you want, and that's the people
you don't want people. This is something that I've just worried about and thought about for the last 15 years. Is at any business in the Department of Corrections, whether it's DOC or whoever it is, it's not like you don't run that like you do a business out in the corporate world.
No.
Altogether different when you working for state agencies. Altogether different. Different rules. Harp changed the part on buying something. Changed it around where you don't have to have a bid. Buy whoever you want. What do? We find more corruption.
Well, all those things were there, Bob. All those merit rules were there, and all that protection, and all that bidding, and all the purchase orders are there for a reason. They didn't just willy nilly come up with that. They were there to stop favoritism, nepotism, corruption, and all of that. And that's why we have a bidding process. And even with the bidding process, politics play, and we're not going to get it all out. But it limits it, it cuts it down. You at least had to play by some rules. It puts some rules there. But Bob, the bottom line is Harp was a disaster. Harp come in claiming he's going to be this big business guy. Like you said, the government is a totally different deal. I think we need to bring wisdom. I think we need to, but he didn't run it like a business, because a business would go in and streamline that administration and cut out the bloat in administration. He didn't do that. He didn't grow the actual worker down there on the bottom line, correctional officers, case managers. And again, when we say Republicans, we want less government, we want more local. Well, guess what? They grow the administration. That's agency right there in Oklahoma City, big bloated agency. And they reduced the number of workers out there in the prisons, right there where the work is. They reduced it. That's not good business. I don't care whether you're in the private or whether you're in the government. That's stupid. That's stupidity.
As a Republican, what do you stand for? Less government. What do you? We have moved out of where we were at there on Lincoln Boulevard to a new building. It's costing a whole lot of money.
100,000.
You had to move because you're hiring so many people in administration.
And you got to look classy. You got to get over there where all the action is. You got to look classy. They had an administration building. My gosh, it's huge. You could have if you wanted a little remodel, you could have remodeled that. You didn't need to spend $100,000 a month. And guess what? You didn't get government approval. It requires that the government, the House and Senate must approve that. You bypass. He did a lot of that bypassing everything. He didn't think he answered them. He only answered to the governor. And again, that's what's got him. Bob, his bad deeds have come home to visit him. You know what I mean? And I'm going to say it's about time. And so I don't have any animosity.
We got to finish up here.
Well, Bob, I don't have any animosity towards the guy, but I'm going to tell you, I'm glad he's gone. And I hope that Justin steps in. And I'm just going to sit back. And again, that's where I'm going to be. I'm going to keep an open mind, see what he does. We did that with Harp, if you'll remember. We didn't get on his bandwagon. We didn't go beating him up immediately. We sat back and said, we hope you do a good job. We hope you come in and change some things. And again, he immediately went to doing a disaster of a job. One thing I can say, I don't think Justin can do worse. I've never seen in 35 years a worse director. This guy wins the all-out award, head and shoulders, wins the worst director ever award right here on OCP. So hopefully Justin step in, do something different. We'll see who the governor finalizes and picks, and hopefully they will hear on get some employees, get some correctional officers, get some case managers.
Well, JJ, I appreciate you. Appreciate all the work you do for helping our officers and our nurses and everybody at the Department of Corrections. And we'll be back to you next week.
Hey, Bob, one last thing. This is the opportunity to join OCP. This is right now. You've got a great opportunity. This is your time to join. Let's make a strong association.
Well, they got to change it. HR is telling people, no, you can't join OCP. We don't do that anymore.
Don't let them tell you that. You go in, you tell them I want to join. And if they refuse, you call one of us. We want to know.
Well, I appreciate it. We'll catch you next week. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Catch you later.